Hello everyone, I'm Muna Bator, a partner in EY. Thank you for listening. On the 5th of June, I hosted the latest webcast in our Leaders' Perspective series, a series which is built around the theme of purpose and the need for more human, more purposeful conversations. I was delighted to be joined by Nick Bacon, Kerry Dryberg, Simone Rossi, John Fallon, Debbie Crosby and Lena Nair for a passionate and honest debate. We discussed how COVID-19 is rapidly reshaping our understanding of employment, work and well-being, and how it's causing businesses to reconsider the nature of work and their role as an employer. It was such an interesting discussion and we were inundated with questions and we didn't have time to answer them all. But with the help of the panel, we've created this video featuring the answers to some of the most frequently asked. Enjoy listening and watch out for the next webcast in EY's Leaders' Perspective. Thank you.
Well, organisations and individuals are never as resilient as they think they are. So we've got to reimagine our own resilience. And I talked on the call about financially more resilient, digitally more resilient, more agile as a business. Some of that applies to the individuals. But I also learned actually we can do an awful lot of work from home if you just take the time to reimagine some of your key processes and apply trust. You can actually do a lot more from home. So we'll never go back in the same way, in my view, as we did when we left before the crisis.
Such a great question, and one of the silver linings to what's been an awful tragedy. Personally, I've been humbled and inspired by how people have rallied together to help and support each other in their local communities. And there are so many stories that stand out. You know, here in the UK, as the lockdown was announced, tens of thousands of people applied to become National Health Service volunteers and support local communities and the most vulnerable. Different companies thought of new and creative ways to use their manufacturing plants, supply chains, products to meet critical needs. And at BP, we provided free fuel and discounts to emergency services, vehicles, and essential workers. In Brazil, our biofuels joint venture diverted some of its sugarcane ethanol production to make disinfectant product, and they gave that to the health services that serve a population of nearly 1.5 million people. And then in Mauritania, in one of our other operations, our team repaired an old water tank to provide a temporary supply for the community and is now working with authorities and NGOs to develop a more permanent solution. And it's just a small contribution to global efforts, but seeing people come together to support each other has given me hope that we can create a better world built on genuine care for each other. And I think if I were to single out one specific anecdote, it'd be related to children, the group who are most likely or not to get COVID, but at the same time, who are the most vulnerable due to the closure of schools. And I was humbled really by the way communities and companies have come together to make sure this group wasn't forgotten. So whether that was continuing to provide school lunches where a child may otherwise go hungry, or doing as we did at BP and loan laptops so homeschooling could continue. In our company, we have a long-standing commitment to education, and we support our communities by helping to develop local talent, specifically helping to build an interest in science and tech. And during the pandemic, BP made all of our content available to parents, teachers and students for free. We saw a huge increase in the number of downloads from teachers, nearly 20,000, and a spike in the number of parent registrations around our content. So that was around 1,200 in a month when we would normally average about 60. So we even used them in my house. My kids used the opportunity to access this information too. And there are many other great examples that illustrate how people have come to support one another. And I think it is one of the few bright spots, as I said, in this tragedy.
The changing world of work will have a positive impact on the environment for two reasons. The first, more people will be working from home in the future. This means less need to commute to a place of work, therefore less transport, less energy consumption through transport, and fewer environmental impacts associated with transport. And the second reason is that business meetings can just as easily be organized via video conference applications, with which we have all become familiar during the lockdown. So we realize we will need less travel in the future, and in particular, less travel long distance by plane, which is one of the most impactful forms of transport.
So one of the things that attracted me to join TSB in the first place was the strength of the culture right across the business, particularly its focus on customers and also the way that everybody in TSB looks after each other. I think through this pandemic, we've begun to see some real agility and pace in our culture that perhaps we didn't have the confidence to do things in this way before. So I think that the level of collaboration, the level of trust, and the level of just energy to get on and try and do some new things has really come to the fore. So that's something that I'm delighted with. We've ramped up communication. I think our culture is going to be much more digitally based, and it's going to be much more focused on making sure that we've got a platform that includes everyone digitally to be able to allow people to speak up. I've now done a whole range of calls and video interactions with lots of the people who work for TSB, probably quite a bit more frequently than I would normally. So I'm confident that that's absolutely going to continue and it will be our new way of working.
Yes, this has challenged our biases and assumptions about how work gets done. Yeah, I do think in many ways this has helped inclusion. Yeah, because you're all on one call. Everybody gets the same space to talk. There is no more connecting on the golf field, connecting in the pub. You're all doing this together in real time. So in many ways, it has been a level playing field for inclusion. But in other ways, it has made it harder for women and men who have more caregiving responsibilities, for men and women who have children and a host of other responsibilities to think about. It has meant this multiple demands have stretched their days, have ensured they have no boundaries. And also many of these changes, because people find it hard to set boundaries, has also led people to have well-being challenges. So I believe that we have to take the best of what this change has meant and modify our current ways of working. So we must take this spirit of flexibility, speed in decision making, connecting every day, daily stand-up meetings, and some of the good practices that have come out of COVID and build that into the new ways of working. But equally, we have to teach people how to set boundaries, how to plug off or unplug and recharge, how to ensure that you're putting enough time for mental and physical well-being during a busy day. How do you work differently to ensure you have the flexibility that you need to cope with the multiple demands? So in summary, it will have an impact on diversity and inclusion in the workplace, but we can take the good elements and embed that and find ways to mitigate some of the bad elements of working in this way.
Well, I can tell you at ASOS we've decided to rip up the business plan and go again. And taking everything we've learned from the crisis, everything, things we didn't want to learn, and actually go, we now need to do this again. So the principles we've gone in, as I said on the call, was how do we get more agile, more resilient, more financially secure, more digital, more and more sustainable. So those principles we've reimagined and currently rewriting the business plan accordingly. So that's quite exciting. That's how we're preparing ourselves. In terms of employees, we're actually communicating regularly about how things are going to be different and why they're going to be different and how we want to capture those learnings to make the organisation stronger. That's what we're doing. That's how we've been trying to prepare ourselves.
Well, I think many of us can agree that COVID has changed the workplace and society permanently. As we come out of the pandemic, it's a moment for us to pause, for everyone to reflect on why we do what we do and how we build back better. And for businesses, COVID is also a powerful reminder of the fact that we're part of society, not apart from society. Build back better means restarting the global economy in a fairer way and in a way that's more inclusive, sustainable, and resilient, and trying to get to the root of deep inequalities that exist in our society. And I want BP to be there in the mix, to use our voice to help wherever we can. And we need to use our imaginations. People talk about the art of the possible. Day by day in this crisis, we've seen people redefining the art of the possible. And I want to see us create work environments where this is embraced and celebrated. And it's a huge opportunity for good companies who are doing good things. And I want BP to be no exception. As BP, we need to earn the trust of society to be wanted and not just needed. We need to be an inspiring, motivating place to work where people can bring their whole selves. And we need to be valued by our stakeholders and our shareholders as a force for good, as well as a provider of competitive returns. And I see the people at BP doing amazing things. I'm really excited about the potential we have to be creative, be innovative, and make things better for our people and for planet. And it's said that the effect of one good-hearted person is incalculable. We've got thousands of good-hearted people trying to do the right thing. So the art of the possible, is phenomenal. And I also would like to see us bring mental health more and more to the fore. I think we've made good progress, but it is good to talk and it's good to ask for help. And it's a subject that our CEO and I feel really passionate about. So the more we can work on bringing that into day-to-day conversations and dialogue, the better for everyone. And the collective action, I think, in response to COVID has shown me that we can create a better world where we can come together and support each other. And the power of working behind that common purpose is really inspiring. So I hope we take this moment of pause to create a better world. And I really believe we will.
During the COVID-19 crisis, we have been able to shift to home working thousands of people in a very short period of time, and to repurpose some of our teams into, for example, delivering medicines. In other words, we have learned that even the impossible becomes possible with a strong sense of purpose and trust and empowerment. This has created a strong connection with employees, and it is something that we would really like to maintain. And in particular, we would like, therefore, to, number one, rediscover the purpose that energizes and galvanizes us every day. And our purpose at ETF in the UK is helping Britain achieve net zero. And also, we would like to maintain trust and empower employees to make the right decisions every single day.
Well, I think there's no question that it's safe to say that no aspect or industry of society will come out unscathed. There's no question that investment will need careful consideration, and I don't think it's going to be one size fits all. The impact of this virus has been felt very unevenly across sectors. Restaurants, shops, leisure, and hospitality, as well as airlines, have been particularly badly affected. The longer the uncertainty remains, the more persistent unemployment will be. And I think this is really critical, particularly for those areas that are more vulnerable, youth unemployment, women, BAME, etc. It's critical that we really work together, both private and public sector, to make sure that we get the skills and the investment required to get the economy going again. Particularly important is digital infrastructure, but really importantly, the biggest society-wide investment needs to be in society itself. Coronavirus has highlighted again some of the worst inequalities in our society, and the economic impact had hit those already working in low-income jobs the hardest. This is something that together the public and private sector must face into as a priority.
Yes, I believe that some of this change will stick. We have seen over the last 5-7 years the theory around leadership development changing. As the world gets more uncertain, and COVID is a great example of ambiguity and uncertainty, we have seen that the old model of the superhero leaders who knows all the answers is gone. Leaders are appreciated today more, those who are willing to listen, those who are willing to build consensus, collaborate, show humility, show curiosity, be able to say, I don't know the answers, but let's figure this out together. So we had already begun to see this trend of humility, curiosity, a sense of purpose and service, servant leadership becoming more and more important. What COVID has done is to accelerate this trend. And therefore, I believe that a lot of these changes about thinking about compassion for fellow human beings, thinking about kindness, thinking about multi-stakeholders, thinking about inner sense of purpose and service is one of the changes that will be more permanent over the next few months, years.